What's going on, people, and welcome to another episode of Thoughts from the Toilet. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Home Cooking Delivered, and that is a home cooking delivery service in and around the Southampton area, delivering freshly prepared food to your door. So if that sounds like something you or someone you know might be interested in, then check out their Facebook by searching Home Cooking Delivered, or go to their website www.homecookingdelivered.net. And if I can, I'll drop some links and stuff across all the platforms, so it's a bit easier to access and have a look at. But what is going on, everyone? I have been away with the in-laws. And, you know, as most of us probably do, sometimes you dread sort of doing stuff like that with the in-laws. But I think I've fallen on my feet and got quite lucky with my in-laws. You know, they're actually all right. They're fun. We get out and do some good stuff. You know, we just have a good time whenever we're all together. And everyone's so busy at home. They've got their own business. They run Home Cooking Delivered. So, you know, they're running that all the time. And me and Hannah are always working, or if we're not working, we're just busy being grown ups. So it's not often we get to spend time together and have some good quality time. So we did just that this weekend. And we went down to a place called, it's near Wareham, which is in Dorset, near Corfe Castle, a place called Burnbake Forest. And we just rented a big lodge, a 2-bedroom lodge, and it had massive living space, and, you know, it had a hot tub and stuff like that. So it was a nice little retreat to just go away, chill out. You know, there's no phone signal there at all, so it's nice. No one could really get hold of you. I mean, you had like Wi-Fi and stuff, but for the majority of the time, no one could really get hold of you, and it was nice to not be bothered or hassled by everyday shit, really. So yeah, that was down by Corfe Castle, and also near Swanage, and we actually went into Swanage we got there on the Friday, and then on the Saturday we went to a thing called the Swanage Folk Festival. And now I just thought that was going to be, you know, just walking along maybe the beach or the high street, and it'll just be people playing folk music, playing guitars, having a sing-song, bit of country music, you know, bit of this, bit of that. I was wrong, people. Apparently, a folk festival it's a festival where Morris dancers go. And if you've never seen Morris dancers, I highly encourage you to research or have a look on YouTube, Morris dancers. Because what it is basically a load of adults dressed up, dancing and shouting and hitting sticks together. And I did actually put a video of it on my Instagram story, and I don't know if anyone might have seen it, but it is odd. It's a definite, you know, it's like a typical white person thing to do. Dressing up with bells and stuff around your ankles, so when you're walking along, you're going cling, cling, ching, ching. And I swear to God, I said to Hannah, if I hear one more fucking jingle bell today, I'm going to lose my shit. Jingle bells are for December only, yeah? Let's not start fucking jingle belling August, September time. The Christmas adverts and songs are already coming on too early throughout the year. So let's keep actual real jingle bells to a minimum and keep them for Christmas. Don't put jingle bells around your ankles. Don't put them around your wrists. Don't put them on your fucking hat. Let's just keep jingle bells as a Christmas carol, and let's just play jingle bells in December. But Morris dancing is a lot of adults, you know, like a troop of maybe 6. On average, I saw a troop between 6 and 8 adults, male and female, and the ages were going from maybe 18 or 20 up to about 70. There was all female troops, there was all male troops, mixed, and they'd have these jingle bells all over them, different style sort of, I suppose you can call it uniforms, but it's basically just shredded material stitched onto like a jacket, and it's all sort of free flowing. They wear funny hats, some of them had face paint, some of them had masks, but they would do sort of crazy dancing. They'd be walking along So there'd be someone playing music as well in this troupe. I forgot to mention there'd be someone playing like an accordion or a banjo or something crazy, and then they'd be walking along and they will just dance on the spot and then start hitting sticks together, and then start walking again, and that just sort of repeats itself. And it's quite surreal to see. It's the first time I've ever seen Morris dancing or known what it was. I mean, I used to know someone who used to do Morris dancing, but I didn't know what it was. I just assumed it was just a style of dance, which it is, but I didn't know exactly what it was and just how sort of creepy it is. And there's also a big market up there, you know, people sort of selling folky sorts of stuff. Like there was power boats, little figurine power boats that are powered by candle power. Didn't really see how it worked or asked too much about it, but he was selling boats that were powered by candles. There was live music, there was a bar, but we went to go and get a beer and it was just cider, really. And I'm not big into cider, neither's Hannah's dad or her mum or her for that matter. So we got a coffee in the end, which is probably better than nothing. But whilst I was there, Hannah's mum actually talked me into going to see. It's like a pop-up tent, really, with a bit of a, what's the word? Like a what's that word? When somebody is eccentric, that's the word, eccentric. So it's a pop-up tent with like an eccentric lady in there. I'm maybe assuming she was a gypsy, maybe, but she was doing. She called herself a psychic medium and a tarot reader. So I went in then, and Hannah's mum talked me into getting that done, which was a bit strange because as soon as I sat down, she said to me, "Oh, you're one of us," and I was a bit like, "Pardon?" She said, "You've got the ability to be a medium." And I was sort of looking at her and I'm thinking, well, my t-shirt's a large. You know, 9 times out of 10 I wear a large, so how am I a medium? And she's looking at me and she's saying, "I'm getting a very clear, open channel with you. You know, if you wanted to, you have the ability to do this and pursue this." And I just sort of paid, you know, lip service to it and was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, brilliant, yeah, you know, yeah, I'll bear it in mind. You know, if my work ever falls through, or you know the podcast never ever takes off, then yeah, maybe I'll look into reading people's futures and shit." But you know, we had to pull out 7 cards and stuff like that, and she started talking about she's getting a lady coming through, an elderly lady, and it can't have been any of my nans, because both my nans are still alive and kicking. But I do have a grandma who died around sort of 1996, or maybe even before that. But I was young when she died. And my only memory of my grandma was she was eating a jacket potato. And when she ate the potato out from the inside, she was sort of gumming and licking the potato skin. And once she was done licking and gumming the potato skin, she then offered it out to me or my sister to see if anyone would like to eat this potato skin. And obviously, you know, we respectfully declined. I wasn't about to be eating a potato skin which had been gummed to death. So we declined that. But the lady who was doing the reading to me, she said, "Okay, you know, we were to and fro and going back and forth a little bit about who this woman was. And she couldn't really tell me directly who she was. So she said to me, "Okay, the only way this is going to work now is if this lady lets you know, she gives you some sort of sign today that it was her." So it could be her name coming up in conversation, it could be a song on the radio which you relate to her, or it could be something which you relate to her, and it will happen. And I'm just thinking, okay, yeah. So she's seen me sit down here, sort of guessed my age and just assumed that I'd have, you know, like a dead grandmother. And because I wasn't really giving her much, like I was only really given yes or no answers, so she couldn't really build a picture. And when I wasn't giving her much, I think she was a bit like, right, okay, I'm going to just let this go. So she said to me, the woman in question will give me a sign at some point and let me know that it was her. And, you know, I'd left this place and I'd met up with Hannah and the family again, and we were at a pub and I was having a beer. And as we left the pub, I'd just been explaining about everything to Hannah and her family. And as we left the pub, I looked at a table, and on this table was an A4 sort of notepad. And it was open with no writing on it whatsoever, apart from on one page, and smack bang in the middle of that page, it just said jacket potatoes. And it freaked me out a little bit. I thought maybe the beer was a little bit stronger than what I anticipated that I just had, but it wasn't. It definitely said jacket potatoes. And it may have been an absolute coincidence, because it could have been, you know, maybe like an order taking book for food. We're in a pub that does food, so it's fairly feasible that it could have been that. But it sort of got my attention, but I still left that woman feeling a bit, you know, I just paid her 12 quid for nothing really. So I've decided to look up a local sort of legit, or what I think is legit, medium. And there's one woman that stuck out in particular because last year, around this time, in fact, my sister was driving through a road through Southampton, and she saw a cat get ran over. And she stopped and got the cat and was knocking on doors in the local area to try and return the cat to its owner. And when she finally did, the woman was very grateful, but my sister said she was a little bit of, again, she was eccentric, she was a bit of a kook. And then later on in a shopping precinct, maybe a couple of weeks later, the woman bumped into my sister. She said, "Oh, thank you so much for returning my cat. He is on the mend, he's back up and moving, and that's all to do with you, so thank you very much." And in that instant, she put her hands on my sister's shoulder and she said, "Oh, you don't know this yet, but you're going to need me soon. In a couple of weeks' time, you're going to need me." And then lo and behold, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, my granddad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. So that really got my ears pricked up. And I know somebody else who's actually been to that same lady, and he booked in to her under a false name. So, you know, they can't go on Facebook and they can't build like a picture of your background or your life. So he booked in under a false name, and she still got everything absolutely bang on, even down to a minor family argument that was happening over some flowers. And the woman said, don't have them flowers, have these flowers. And that, you know, and there's no way she could have guessed that unless she was actually really getting something, because you would never ever say that. So I've booked in to go and see this same woman Monday the 17th. I think it's the 17th. So this next Monday, because today is Wednesday the 12th of September. So Monday coming up, so the 17th. So that could be an interesting day to do a podcast after that, because we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, but I'm going to need to sort of sit down, and she's going to need to solidify something pretty early on to make me believe that she's legit. You know, I haven't given my last name. I've only booked in as Rick. So she's quite a wide spectrum of Ricks all over social media. So we will see if she can solidify herself pretty early. But the woman that I also spoke to in Swanage, the one that was in the tent, she was saying that I've recently launched an idea. This sort of got my attention as well. She said, "I've recently launched an idea in the last few months, and I might not know it yet, but what I'm doing and the idea that I've launched and I'm seeing through is a platform to help people. It's a platform for helping people." And the only thing I could pin that to was sort of this podcast, really. Excuse me. This podcast. You know, it's sort of I suppose it's a platform where I come on here and I sort of lay all my life cards out on the table and maybe makes other people feel at ease. You know, I don't think I'm out here being like a Mother Teresa or Teresa, whatever you want to say it, but you know, this is a sort of platform where people could listen to it and feel better about what's going on maybe in their life. So that's the only thing I could sort of pin that to, but I didn't read too much into it because I know them like tarot cards are just usually bullshit, because they just, you know, they just research or they educate themselves on what that particular card means, and then, you know, who can't pin, like for example, there's a picture of somebody holding a naked man upside down, right? And she was saying, oh, this symbolises like turbulence in your life. You know, you were a bit disorientated, not sure where you were going, your life was a bit upside down. Who can't pin something like that to an event in their life? You know, we're all adults, we've all got shit going on. Whether it's like a minute thing, whether it's a major thing, you can probably pin. Like if you're listening to this now, you're probably thinking about what you would pin it to. So I'm not entirely convinced by them cards, but yeah. And she also said, actually, I sort of threw her off, and I think she wanted to get rid of me a little bit after this, because I'd sort of switched off by this point, and I was getting to the point where I was just starting to not take the piss, but I wasn't buying into it as much as what I originally was, and I was starting to be just a little bit funny, I suppose, just a little bit funny. And she was saying to me that there was a card where something to do with sensitivity, and then she tried telling me that could symbolise a feminine sensitivity within me, because she said to me, these are her words, and I quote, because, you know, we are not only one gender, we have the ability to be whichever gender, whatever gender we want. And also I looked at her, sort of scratching my head, because if you've listened to the podcast from day one, you know my opinion on sort of gender fluidity and where I sit with that sort of stuff. And she started telling me, so this could symbolise, you know, your feminine, your the female gender in you. And now I'm thinking, you're crazy, you silly old bat. So I said to her, yeah, well, I do really like scented candles. And she stopped and started, and she looked at me, she said, pardon? I said, you know, I absolutely love scented candles. And she was like, yeah, that could be, you know, that could be the feminine thing coming out in you. That could be your feminine gender. I was like, yeah, that could be it. Yeah, them scented candles. But, you know, don't try and sit there. I just paid you money. Don't try and sit there and tell me I'm not my gender. Because if you're that much of a psychic, yeah, you'll be able to see what I've got going on downstairs. And if it isn't a female thing, then I'm obviously a male. Okay, so that's my gender right there. So, yeah. So, we went back to the lodge after that, and we tried to get the England game, but there was no like Sky, or because it was on Sky Sports, there was no Sky. It was just like Freeview TV. So I had my Fire Stick with me, and we tried to watch it through that. But the internet is awful, really, and you can't really be surprised because it's in the smack bang in the middle of nowhere. So we sort of listened to the England game. But do you know what? At half time, I was so pissed off. I just because the picture was shit and the quality was shit. I was so pissed off. I just went out, got a beer out of the fridge, and went and sat in the hot tub. So I still don't even know the result of the England-Spain game, to be honest. So, but that was that. And then went to Corfe Castle the next day. And Corfe Castle, to me, is a bit of a rip-off. I don't mean to disrespect anyone. If that's what you're into, I know it's like a historic site for England and stuff. But they try and charge me 11 quid to get in, when all I will see inside there is what I can see from outside there. Like, nothing changes when you get in. They just try and take money off you to go and see it from a different angle. So we cottoned onto that, and we just looked around it from the outside. Got ourselves a roast dinner. And then went to Lulworth Cove, where I had arguably the fucking best ice cream in the world. It was clotted cream fudge, and then I had salted caramel as well, and it was fucking heavenly. But Lulworth Cove, if you haven't been there, is like a little fishing village, and then goes out into a cove, which is obviously where it gets its name. And if you walk up on top of the big hill, you get quite a good view of the cove from above. So that's what me and Hannah did. We walked up and had a look, but I've always got to push my luck. I've always got to go one further, and I always end up pissing Hannah off. So I've hopped this fence, which says, do not climb over fence, unstable cliff face. But there's other people over that fence. So I thought, I'm going to go have a look. Because you can go a little bit higher and you can get a better view. So I walked up there, hopped the fence, walked up there. And I was taking photos and looking back. And I thought, I'm going to go even further. And then in the end, I was walking on a pathway which was about 1 metre wide. And either side of me was a sheer drop. And it was really, really windy. And then I sort of shit myself and thought, I better turn around there actually and go back. So I went back, and then Hannah was, why have you always got to do that? Yeah, you could have died up there. Then what would I do? You're selfish. So I suppose in a way it is true, but I wanted to go and get a better view of the cove. And I was, I was switched on enough to know that it was a little bit sketchy, so I turned around and came back. But so that was the weekend in a nutshell, really. We went to Poole Harbour on the Monday. We got back, what day is it today? Wednesday? So we got back Monday. We went to Poole Harbour first, and we thought we'd get some lunch. We found a little pub, and really, with the gift of hindsight, probably should have done a bit of like a background research on it, maybe looked at TripAdvisor, because the food was all right. But we were sat there, and the landlady of the pub is sat like the customer side of the bar just drinking, and we were there for maybe an hour before the food came out, and she was sat there just drinking for that whole hour, and then all of a sudden started shouting and swearing at one of the girls that worked there, and then screwed like a receipt up and threw it in the girl's face, ran out the back to the kitchen, shouted at the chef, was effing and blinding at the chef, come back round the front of the bar, was effing and jeffing again at the young girl. All the time we just sat there having lunch. We just sat there thinking, fuck me, we've paid to have lunch in here, and the landlady's effing and jeffing at everyone, and it made for a bit of an awkward atmosphere, really, in the end. And as we got up to leave, the landlady grabbed the young girl working behind the bar, because the young girl had come out from the kitchen and was walking around the bar, and the landlady jumped up and grabbed the young girl and threw her behind the bar. We thought, Jesus fucking Christ. But, obviously, I don't know, the landlady must not value her business or something. I don't really know. But she's just sat there. Maybe she's got like an alcohol problem, and that line of work is probably not the best line of work to be in if you have, if you're inclined to a tipple. But maybe she don't really value her business. I don't really know. But we left a bad review on TripAdvisor about it because, you don't want to go somewhere like that and pay money, especially after like a nice weekend that we've had, and it was just sort of, it was a tip of the iceberg, really, just putting the icing on the cake and having a nice bit of lunch before we went home and went back to work and back to reality. And she's just there effing and jeffing while I'm having a burger. So people don't want to be paying money and going there and getting an atmosphere like that, really. And if anything was ever wrong with your food or with your experience, she ain't going to be accommodating, or she ain't going to be, she won't do much to be helping you out. So, why would anyone want to go there? Maybe she's just got to the point where she don't really give a fuck about pissing anyone off. And I can relate to that, because as I'm getting older, I'm getting to the point where, I just think, I'm so sick of watching my P's and Q's around people, watching what I say, making sure I don't upset someone. And now as I'm getting older, I'm just thinking, I don't really care now. If I piss you off, I piss you off. It's part of life. If something I do or something I say pisses you off, that ain't my fault. It's your fault. It's pissed you off. You took offence to it. I haven't meant offence with it. If I meant offence, you'd know about it. But if something I've said or done has pissed you off, then you've took offence to it. So it's your fault. It's your problem. You fucking sort it out. I'm not changing my attitude or the way I think or the way I act because someone doesn't like it. So that's just I suppose that's just getting older, because usually I suppose I've always been a bit more accommodating of people's feelings. I've always been careful not to upset people, not to piss people off. But now I'm getting older. I don't really give a shit anymore. If I piss you off, I piss you off. And if it gets to the point, if I piss you off that much, we're not friends anymore. So be it. It's just whatever. I'm not overly fussed about it, to be honest. So that's just me being a moany old man. And I haven't got a family yet. I'm not even having sleepless nights. It's just me being moany. So yeah, basically that was our weekend in a nutshell. Although I did actually wake up at much to Hannah's dismay, I woke up at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning to watch UFC. Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till for the welterweight championship. Because that's a fight. I followed Darren Till from the beginning. He's always had my attention. He's a fantastic Muay Thai fighter, and I'm into my Muay Thai as well. So he had my attention from early. So I woke up and watched it, and that was a real shit result, I think. I thought Darren Till looked really comfortable in the first round. Woodley couldn't do much really in the first round. I'm just trying to think it back and play it out in my head. But Darren Till held his own against someone, a fighter like Woodley, who's defended that title X amount of times. And obviously in the second round it all got a bit too much, and then Darren Till took a big old counter right hand, sat down and got submitted, which is a shame. Because when someone has had a rise like Darren Till has, and he's fought the names that he has, and he's beaten the names that he has. You just think he's the real deal. I'm not saying he's not the real deal, but I suppose you just expect and you believe that he's going to go all the way there and then. But he's only young, he's only 25, so he's got he's got a long way to go yet. He'll come back, he'll be champion, no doubt. He said his goal is to be a freeweight world champion. He wants to be welterweight, middleweight and light heavyweight, I think he said. So we'll see what happens. But, he'll bounce back. You've got to take losses to appreciate the wins, I suppose. And when you lose, I suppose you go back and you tighten up on where you think it went wrong. And you bounce back stronger. So, yeah, that was that. So I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch that. I had a few beers the night before, so I was a little bit blurred vision when I woke up, a bit confused. But then went back to sleep, woke up again, got back in the hot tub. And that's how my weekend was, really, in and out of that hot tub, like human soup all week, like a big crouton. What else has been going on? Not a lot, really. There's obviously been some news headlines. The tragic passing of the rapper Mac Miller. And before I go any further with this, I would just like to clarify and specify, I am not a Mac Miller fan. I have never been a Mac Miller fan. I've never really listened to his music. I have heard of him. I know who he is and what he does, but I couldn't tell you, his all his songs or recite his lyrics or this, that. Just in case that upsets people. But the news of him passing is awful, really, because it does goes to show that it's the same as Chester Barrington as well from Linkin Park. It just goes to show you have all the money and the success and fame in the world, but it doesn't make you exempt from real problems. And I tweeted them exact words, nearly them exact words, actually, when I first saw that Mac Miller had died. And it just makes you realise, everyone strives for money, some strive for fame, some strive for success. But because maybe you think that when you get any of that all your problems go away. But I think tragic incidents like this just go to show that you can work as hard as you can, you can build such a fantastic foundation for yourself, and you can get everything you dream of. But all that will still not make real life problems go away. And there's this speculation around how Mac Miller died. The media are putting it out as substance abuse, and I'm not one to say yes or no. That's what happened. I don't know what he was into, what he liked to do recreationally, but it just seems more and more young people. He's only 26, so more and more young people their lives are being cut too short because of this sort of thing, and it's awful. And the harshest reality of it is, it's never going to stop. You haven't got to be famous to be addicted to substances or abuse substances and overdose and die from it. It happens. There's headlines about it nearly weekly. You look on Facebook or in the papers or in the media. There's headlines about it everywhere. Young people are just taking stuff they're not sure on, and unfortunately it ends badly. So it was quite a shock, actually, to see that. 'Cause I'm always shocked when someone that young dies. Like even when Avicii died a few months back, that sort of shocked me, because I'd seen Avicii live. I'd listened to Avicii's music, and I'd seen him live, and then all of a sudden he's dead. And he's around my age, as is Mac Miller. So, it's very real when stuff like that happens. And as I said, I've not been a Mac Miller fan. I wouldn't say I'm a Mac Miller fan. But still, it makes you realise that we're all in this together, really, aren't we? Everyone's got their demons. And some people their demons are just too strong for them sometimes. So it's a great shame. But moving on from that, on a totally irrelevant note, I've seen a headline earlier, and apparently a study has shown that if you hold in a fart, it can recirculate and can come out of your mouth. Alright, so maybe as a nation we need to start farting a bit more, so that people can start talking less shit. Because if you're talking to someone and they say your mouth stinks of shit, you probably need to go and have a fart. But imagine doing a burp. So that makes me question, is a burp like a throat fart? Is that what's happening there with a burp? Because burps smell as well. So I know burping is gas or trapped air or trapped wind, which is exactly the same as what a fart is. But I suppose it's just its way of getting out. Right, so you're going to basically have farts leaking out of any hole possible, really. So yeah, if someone says your mouth stinks, then you probably need to go and maybe sit on a toilet and have a fart, because some people are funny about farting, some people don't do it in public, some people just wait until they're on their own and do it, which is cool. I respect that. But if it's going to be unhealthy, or if it's going to make your mouth smell of shit, I'd rather you just fart in front of me. Like if Hannah would let off a ripper in front of me, but if she didn't do it, her breath would smell like poo, then I wouldn't be too fussed, because I'd rather her breath not stink of shit. Which I'm sure anyone really would, to anyone they're talking to, would rather their voice, or their mouth rather, didn't stink of shit. So if it means cracking off a little fart, crack off a little fart, whatever. Just having some water there. Spider season again now, isn't it? We've been in our house now. We bought our house a year ago, actually. The 30th of August 2017, we bought our house. And we haven't had one spider. We've had like daddy long legs or little money spiders or whatever. But I think it was Thursday night last week. We were sat watching a film in the sitting room. Hannah opened the sitting room door and a spider, I'm not joking, it's probably the size of a Mini Cooper, ran from behind the skirting board and ran at her. The dog's seen it. And when we first got the pug, I was a bit like, great, we've got a fucking pug. We just bought a house and we've got a pug. If I was going to get a dog, I'm going to get something like a Mastiff or an Alsatian or a German Shepherd or something with a bit more confidence when I'm upstairs in bed, naked, asleep, that if someone's going to break in, they're going to have a fucking rough time of it. And then we've got a pug and I was a bit like, it's not a guard dog. But credit where credit's due, that little dickhead jumped straight on that spider and she stopped that spider from running under the fridge freezer. Because the way Hannah is with spiders, if that spider got under the fridge freezer, I would have been in that kitchen all fucking night tearing it apart till I found it. So, big up my dog Florence, the pug, for stopping that spider from getting under the fridge freezer. She dragged it back into the hallway, and I think it put up a good fight. That scene in the Scary Movie where Ray's under the bed and the clown drags him, his nails dig into the floor. It's a bit like that. But the pug dragged the spider back into the hallway and was playing with it. For a good maybe 10 minutes, and the spider just curled up in a ball and every so often tried to run and then the dog would paw her. I don't know if spiders have different genders or what, but the dog would paw the spider and drag it back and then play with it a bit more, and in the end she just got bored of it and she just stood on it and squashed it. So that made me think that maybe dogs are more clued up and more human than what we think. Because when they get bored of something, they're done with it, they throw it away. All finished. So yeah, lock your windows tight because them little fuckers are getting anywhere. And when they're not little fuckers, they're big fuckers. What else have I seen in the headlines? I've also seen that sperm donors, like now, there's sperm donors who are celebrity lookalikes, so you can pay and have a celebrity lookalike if you want, if you're doing like IVF or you need a sperm donor. But the only problem with that is you take a gamble. Imagine they mix it up at the lab, and you're asking for, I don't know, like someone who's established as sexy, like Brad Pitt or something like that. And there's been a mix up at the lab. You think you're getting Brad Pitt and you give birth to fucking like Peter Crouch or something. It's a bit of a gamble. Also, it's a bit of a strange thing to do, really, unless you've got a partner. Maybe you can't. Maybe your partner is like infertile as a man and has agreed to get a sperm donor, and maybe your partner looks like a celebrity, so you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna say if your partner looks like Marlon Brando, you go, all right, yeah, I'm gonna get a Marlon Brando lookalike sperm donor. Hopefully, the mix of the genetics will make the child look like us. So maybe that's the idea of it, or maybe you just want your kid to grow up looking like a celebrity, which is a bit strange. And talking of semen, actually, I saw the last headline was a woman is convinced that in her house she has got a spunking ghost. And when I read that headline, I had to double take it, do a little search on ulterior meanings of spunking. Did I say ulterior? I meant alternative. Alternative meanings of spunking, because you say spunking to me and I'm thinking of cum, and I know that's vulgar for some people to listen to and take in, but when someone says spunk to me, I think of the male fluid which is released from the penis during times of intercourse or arousement. And lo and behold, what I was reading was correct. A woman is convinced she has got a ghost in her house which is ejaculating and not saying anything, or not giving any sign as to who or what is ejaculating. Let me tell you right now, lady, you have probably... I'm just going to paint a picture here, yeah? Alright, so let's call him Steve. We'll call the man Steve, and we'll call the woman Sarah. Let's go with Sarah. No, Steve and Sarah, average middle class working family. Got a new kid, or maybe the kid's a little bit older. Maybe it's 5 or 6, and they're both working hard, paying for childcare and stuff. And when the kid's asleep, it's time for mummy and daddy to go to work. But maybe Sarah's a bit like, come on, Steve, I'm a bit tired today. Yeah, I've had a long day. I had a burrito for lunch. I'm fucking bloated. Let's not do it tonight. Steve's gone, all right, okay. And Steve is wanking. Because I'm sorry, ladies, that is what happens. Yeah, when men aren't getting it regularly, they will DIY. Yeah, they'll do it yourself sort of stuff. Fucking dog's barking during my sex story. The dog's been doing that recently a lot, actually. She's just randomly barking for no reason. So maybe I've got a spunking ghost in my house. But when men... maybe some women as well, actually. Maybe some women have a higher sex drive than what the man does. But 9 times out of 10, the man in the relationship has got the highest sex drive. So when the drive and the demand for the sex is not there, the man will find alternative ways to get that pleasure. I'm not saying they're going to go out and sleep with different women or sleep with someone else, but they will have a wank. So maybe, Sarah, you have said no to Steve and rejected him, and he just wants to let off a little bit. So maybe he's had a little bit of a wank, and he's, I don't know, maybe he's just made a mess of it. And rather than clear it up, because he's a man, men don't tend to clear up after themselves, maybe he's just thought, I'll leave it. It'll either soak into the carpet or someone else will clean it up. And you've come across it, and Steve's asleep, so it couldn't have been Steve. Your kid's asleep. Probably definitely not going to be the kid. So there's only one thing for it. You've got a ghost. You've got a masturbating, ejaculating, spunking ghost. Also, it's 2018. I'm not even sure who still says spunking. Spunk was maybe 2002 when Kevin and Perry Go Large was out in the cinemas. I've not heard that word used in a long time. So maybe, Sarah, you need to have a word with Steve, because it could be him. You might be getting yourself freaked out, thinking, "Oh my God, there's a ghost which is ejaculating in my house. What if it impregnates me?" It's obviously got the ability to do that. So why couldn't it reproduce with me? No, Sarah, Steve's been at it again. Have a word with him, because you might be freaking yourself out. And you might be having sleepless nights because you think you got a ghost which is masturbating and ejaculating all up in your house, when actually it's Steve. So, have a word. And on that really strange note, that's probably the weirdest way I've ever left a podcast. But it just fucking happened. So, I'm going to love you all and leave you all, because I am running a little bit behind to go and see my friend Adam Brimson for a coffee. We haven't seen each other for a few weeks now, so we're going to go have a coffee, catch up, chew the fat, spin the shit. You know what it's all about. So I will try and do a podcast actually next Monday after I've been to this crazy spiritualist person and see what happens, because it's my granddad's birthday actually, Thursday the 13th, and we lost my granddad just before Christmas last year. So it's obviously the first birthday where he hasn't been with us. So I wanted to get in there on Thursday, but they're fully booked. So I'm going to go there Monday and see what happens. And if the results are worth talking about, if I'm not too freaked out, I will do a podcast about it and I'll tell everyone all about it. And I'll give you obviously details of the woman. So if anyone's local and wants to check her out, you can hit her up. But for now, I'm going to love you and leave you. It's Wednesday, the hump day. Make it through this. It's downhill, baby. And downhill in a good way. Not like downhill as in your life's gone downhill, but it's downhill towards the weekend. So have a good rest of the week. Have a good weekend. Be safe. And never shoot a large caliber man with a small caliber bullet. Ciao.